Hello, guys, welcome back to another episode here on European Confessions. There is a message that I want to share with you guys, and this message it comes from a translation of a message that I received, and the translation of that message it reads like this: Hello, my brother, how are you? Can you please post my story as hidden identity? My brother, I want to share with you the secret that I kept until the time that my mother passed away. And when my mother passed away, I thought that I was going to share this secret with my siblings, but I have never gotten the strength to share this secret with my siblings because of the nature of that secret. Growing up, my brother, before my parents had gotten divorced from each other, I can say that life was good. We were having a very good life. My parents, they had managed to buy a house in an area that is called Mapuku. But after my dad started making a lot of money, because my dad, he was now buying and selling cars, and he was into buying a lot of things. Some of them, they were like your stolen properties, and some of them, they were your legal stuff. My father was making a lot of money. That was when my father started cheating on my mother. And the way that my father was cheating, he was cheating with young girls, and this made my father to be someone who was always paying a lot of people, because they would come and they would say that you need to pay us because you slept with our daughter. It then happened that my father then started beating my mother so much. And back in those days, there was no like your women's rights. If your husband was going to beat you, you were supposed to apologize to him, because everyone believed that for a woman to get beaten by her husband, it should have been her own problem. One day, when my mom found out that my father had impregnated another young girl in that same area of Mapuku, she then confronted our father. Then our father started punching our mom so much that our mom ran away. When our mom ran away, she went back to her parents, who, when they were alive, they were staying there in Marondera. That is where our mom's parents' family house is. So our mom just ran away, then she left us. And when she left us, our dad then told us that we were going to have a new mom. He then went and he then took his young wife, who was very cruel towards us. Anything bad that we would end up doing, then that stepmom would always find the space to beat us. She used to beat us a lot, and each and every day when our dad would return back to work, we would know that we were going to get beaten up, because she would put out a lot of complaints, even though some of the stuff they were not even true. So with all that situation, that was when we spoke with one of our mom's sister who was staying there in Harare. She was the one who said, okay, you can come, but we didn't have any money. She then sent her husband and came and took us when our father was still at work. We were then taken to our mom, who was there in Marondera. When we arrived there, my brother, everyone was actually blaming our mom, and they were saying that our mom did not have the right to run away from her matrimonial home, because unlike other women, our mom, she had been married completely by our father. Our father had managed to pay off the bride price completely, so he was the one who had the rights to do whatever he wanted to do with our mom. Like in those days, a woman being married was sort of like she was sold off to another family, more like your commodity. There was no respect at all. So we arrived there, and our mom, she was always crying. When I looked at my mom, since I was the eldest and I knew everything that was happening, each and every time that I would see her crying, I would also start crying. The way that our father had punched up our mom, she could not even properly see. Then there was a day whereby my mom's parents had told her that they were going to hold a family meeting. So my father's relatives, they were going to come so as to represent him, and they wanted to have some talks. They wanted to know if our grandfather was going to be able to return back some of the bride price. And our grandfather was telling our mom that he didn't have any money to return back to my father's relatives. So the only option was that my mom, she had to return back to her husband. But my mom, she refused, but she didn't refuse like in the open. She just agreed. Then just before the sun had gone down, our mom then said that she was having a stomach ache. She then went into the toilet, but when she went into the toilet, she called me and I went inside, and she said that she wanted me to give her a toilet paper. I then went and I got that tissue, and after I had given her, she then said that she was about to run away, so we had to follow her. She told me the spot where I was supposed to meet her with my little siblings, and she said that everything that we were going to do, no one was supposed to suspect that we were both running away. Our mom then pretended as if she was going to the shops, and she said that she just wanted to buy some disprin pills. And after that, me and my siblings, we all snuck out of the house one by one as if we were going to play next door. We walked until we had entered into this other forest, and we saw our mom. She was sitting on top of a rock and she was crying. There was so much pain that was written all over her face. Our mom then said that, my children, we are going to this other farm, and at the direction where she was pointing at my brother, you could actually see that the place where we were going to, it was very far. And as we started walking, my brother, we walked for about 4 hours whilst we were walking in the forest. It is just our mom. She knew this other road that was always used by people and some cars. So it was really scary whilst we were walking in that forest. We then arrived at that farm. I think it was somewhere around 11 p.m. We then went to her friend's house. Then a friend said that she was going to give us some space to sleep. We then ended up sleeping outside. The place where we were sleeping, my brother, it was just more like a shelter. Even if a snake wanted to get into that makeshift room, it was just going to get in. But we were really tired to think about anything. We were given the food, and after we had been given the food, we started eating. The following morning, my mom then went to work, and she started working on that farm. But working on that farm, I could see that this was taking a great strain on my mom's body because it was hard work, and the man who owned that farm, he really didn't care for his workers. We didn't have a toilet and we didn't have water. For us to get water, we had to go and fetch the water in the river. And each and every time, if that man would catch you taking the water from the river, he would always insult you, and he would say that you are chasing away the fish, because during the weekends his kids, they used to come and they will be fishing in that river. So we used to go there as if we were stealing water, but it was just a natural river. It then happened that news reached my mom's ears that our father had bought a second house in another location. So he wanted to sell that house which him and our mom had bought. Our mom was really desperate, but there was nothing that she could do about it. One day she went out, and when she came back, I saw that she was holding a brown plastic bag, and inside that brown plastic bag, it seemed as if there were a lot of things. She then told me that these were the prayers that she had been given by this other prophet. And back in those days, people who used to go to white garment prophet churches, they were the people that were working on the farms. It was not yet popular like it is right now. So it was like the first time for me to go to that church after my mom had said that she wanted me to do her a favor, and if I was going to do that favor, she was going to give me money. She then said that if you agree, we must go and meet this other man of God. We then went there, and the first time around, when I saw a white garment prophet, I could not even understand what kind of language that he was using. He only said that they were using the tongues so as to see everything that was happening in the spiritual realm. Then my mom, she was given some two dolls. These two dolls, my brother, you know, this other game in our country, they call it slug, but other cultures, they call it table football or a table soccer, whereby people will be playing soccer on this other platform, and inside that table there will be sort of like dolls that can hit the ball around. So those were the dolls that my mom was given by that prophet, but these dolls, they were glued together. My mom was then given those dolls, and she was told that she had to burn them. My mom then started burning those two dolls that were glued together, and she was told that she had to say everything that she wanted to happen to my father and to his new wife, that one who used to be our stepmom. My mom burned everything until there was nothing but ashes that were remaining. My mom was then given some candles. Some of the instructions I can't remember anymore that she was given, but what I remember is that regularly at night, our mom, she used to light up those candles while she was doing the prayers. Then the night before, she wanted me to travel so that I can go and pretend as if I had paid a visit to my father, whilst I'll be dropping those ashes like around the house. My mom then said that we were supposed to go outside. This was like somewhere around 8 in the evening, and I was someone, and I am still a coward. I am really scared of the dark, but my mom, she forced me, and I followed her. So whilst I was following her, my brother, we walked past this other maize field, because there was my maize field on the right side, then there was a maize field on the left side. On the right side, my brother, as we were walking, I kept hearing footsteps as if there was someone that was following us, but this person was following us whilst he was walking inside that maize field that was on the right. And my brother, when we were about to approach these other two graves, and the story that I heard about those graves was that the graves, they belongs to some two couples that once had the ownership of that land before the land had been taken by that farmer. So they were just buried by their people by force in that farm, on that farm. So when we were about to approach those two graves, that was when we started to hear some strong fighting that was taking place in that maize field that was on the right. My mom, when I wanted to turn around, pinched me so hard, and I screamed, and everything just went quiet. My mom then said that she was going to beat me up, and I was not supposed to listen or to look around, and I was not supposed to show that I had heard everything that was happening in the maize field. And one thing, my brother, that used to happen when we were staying at the farm, there was a lot of witchcraft that was taking place. And when my mom said that I was not supposed to act as if I had heard that there were people that were fighting in that maize field, I knew that these were witches, and I was really scared. I even felt that the hair on my head, it was standing up. Finally, we reached those two graves. My mom then knelt down, and she started to perform some prayers that I could not understand. She then gave me an instruction that I was supposed to come and kneel right next to her, and that was what I did. I saw my mom taking something, I don't know if it was soil or grass, from those graves. After that, she then placed them inside that brown plastic, and she started shaking and shaking as if she was mixing the ashes with the thing that she had stolen from those two graves. After that, she then thanked those that lay inside those two graves, and she turned around and she said that I was supposed to follow her, and I was not supposed to turn around. Whilst we were heading back to that compound, I kept on hearing some strange footsteps as if there was someone that was following us. When we were inside, my brother, that was when I said, God, thank you, because I was really scared. That was when the next day came, my mom then took me to the bus stop, and I went to my dad, and I saw that my father, he was really happy to see me. He actually bought a lot of stuff for me, but what he didn't know is that my mom had sent me with the ashes that had been mixed by this other prophet, and some items that she had collected from a grave that I could not even understand. And whenever my dad and my stepmom would have gone out, like to buy bread or to buy some groceries, what I would do is that I would quickly rush back to my spare room. Then I would open up all of those items that were in form of ashes and some stuff that my mom had taken from the graveyard. Then I'll start to sprinkle them around the house. But the way that I was sprinkling those ashes mixed with the soil that had been taken from the graves, and the way that I was sprinkling everything, my mom had said that people were not supposed to see or to notice that I had sprinkled ashes around the house, because they were supposed to stay in that house before they would have been swept for a very long time. Each and every place, my brother, where I would want to sprinkle, if there was a drawer or a cupboard or anything, I would be very happy. Even the kitchen unit, I shifted it first, then I sprinkled everything at the back of that kitchen unit. By doing this, I knew that people, they do not regularly shift their property, and that is what I did. I then went to my father's bedroom. I moved the wardrobe and I started sprinkling a lot of ashes at the back of the wardrobe. Just when I was about to finish, that was when I heard that my father and my stepmom, they had returned back home. I quickly rushed and I went and I sat on the sofa and I started pretending as if I was just watching TV. My father seemed to be very excited, and when the day for me to return back to the village arrived, my father's car stopped working. He tried each and everything to start it, but it could not work. He ended up taking me himself to the bus stop, and he kept on complaining, and he was saying that this car, he had recently bought it and he could not even understand what had happened to that car. My father then said that he was not going to wait with me for the bus for a very long time, since he was highly stressed about his car, because his car was very essential for his businesses, since he used to go around buying a lot of stuff, some that were illegal, some that were legal. He then went back, but my brother, I can say that he only went back for something like 15 minutes or 20, and I then saw him. He came running to that place where I was standing with other people whilst I was waiting for the bus. I then asked him what was wrong. He then said that when he had returned back home, he then saw that my stepmom, she had hanged herself, and she didn't hang herself only, she also had hung a small child. And my father was very confused, because as far as he knew, everything was running smoothly in their marriage. And that was when I realized that my mom, all of those things that she had made me to do in my father's house, they were very evil. And I started to question myself, and I then said, so that is the reason as to why we had visited those graves, because my mom was waking up the spirit of the dead. So it means that the spirit of the dead, they were the ones that had forced my stepmom to end up hanging herself. That thing, my brother, since I was still very young, it traumatized me so much that I got so scared. When my father returned with me back to his house, he was also confused, and I blame my father. I know that my mother was the evil one, but my father, I don't know if he was confused in his state of mind as a man who had seen his wife hanging from the who had seen his wife hanging in his bedroom and she was lifeless. My father then took me into the bedroom and she showed me that picture, my brother. It can't even leave my mind, even though this thing happened when I was still young. But that vision of seeing my stepmom with her tongue sticking out, and there was just saliva that was coming out of her mouth, and she was hanging there whilst she was lifeless, that vision cannot be removed from my mind. I blame myself because I agreed to do something that was really terrible. And as for my stepmom's child, I didn't even have the strength to look at her because of the way that my stepmom had hanged her child as well. I then rushed outside and I started crying, but I didn't want to expose my mom because I was afraid of the consequences. Then I told my father that I was really scared. I wanted to return back to my mom, but my father, he was scared as well. I saw him shaking because he kept on saying, what am I going to tell your relatives? What am I going to do? I then stayed with my father whilst some of my father's relatives were coming. Whilst I was waiting for my father's relatives to come. The neighbors had already filled up the yard, and the police had came and they had removed the body and they had taken the body to the mortuary. So I really got tired because everyone was just walking around the yard. I then decided to go into my former spare room. This was my room that I used to share with my little sister before my father started beating my mom. I then went in there and I saw that everything was just like the way that we had left it. The wardrobe that had this other big mirror, it was there. I used to enjoy that mirror because whenever I would be in bed, I would see myself. So I went and I just sat on the bed until I was in a lying position, but I was not looking at the mirror. That was when I saw that there was something that walked past the mirror. It was like a shadow, my brother. The next time around, I saw that there was a woman that was standing there in the mirror, but the face, I could not even see the face because this woman that was standing in the mirror, she was like wearing a long wig and she had covered her face with that long wig that she was wearing. When I wanted to wake up, my brother, I found myself unable to even move my own body until the whole vision had passed. The only time that I woke up, Brother Nashi, was when my auntie came rushing into that spare room. She had heard me making some sounds and she said that, "Why are you sleeping during the afternoon? Don't you know that you are going to have sleep paralysis?" She then woke me up. She went with me outside and she introduced me to some of my father's relatives who had seen me when I was still very young. And then the funeral was held, but my mom, she never came for the funeral. When I went back to where my mom was, she asked me everything that had happened. When I told her that I had seen a woman that was standing in the mirror, and this woman, she had a very long wig and she was using that wig to cover her face. And when I tried to run, I could not run because of the power of that woman. My mom then took me to that prophet, but that prophet, with time, my brother, he kept on abusing me, and he was saying that by him abusing me, he was removing the spirit that I had seen in that spare bedroom. With everything that happened to me, I still managed to make something out of my life.